We all know that looking after your well-being as a teacher is so important. The numbers of teachers leaving the profession due to burnout is honestly startling. So how do you actually avoid burnout? Well, my guest today, Jenny Mills, is a qualified cognitive behavioural hypnotherapist, and she shares some great tips and ideas for building resilience and avoiding struggling with burnout. So before stepping into cognitive behavioural hypnotherapy, Jenny worked in primary education, and so she's got experience as a classroom teacher and being a member of SLT, including working as an assistant head. So she knows what it's like to experience the stresses of working in education. There's so much useful information to share here, so let's just get to the chat. Jenny, welcome to the Teachers Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So we're going to talk about something that's very difficult to pronounce. We're talking about cognitive behavioural hypnotherapy. I've got it wrong once already, so fingers crossed I'll be able to do it. So can you explain then, for a teacher who has maybe never heard of it before, what is cognitive behavioural hypnotherapy?
So it's based on the techniques of cognitive behavioural therapy, where you look at how you're feeling, what you're thinking, and what your behaviours are. And it's using hypnotherapy to embed those things. So using visualisation and rehearsal to just embed all those positive changes that you want to make and have gone through them in your head before you actually do them.
I love the word rehearsal in that.
Yeah, it's the main thing. It's like being a sports person and rehearsing your race before you do it. If you want success, you need to have envisaged it and practiced it and be prepared for it to be successful. So that rehearsing is really important.
So I find this really interesting then, because I know quite a bit about visualisation. I'm really into personal development, and it's something that kind of came into my life really as a business owner rather than a teacher. So quick question then, because visualization is something that I still struggle with. Like, how do you maintain focus and like keep making the visualization better? Because I kind of get a bit bored because I'm like, oh, I already know this one.
Yes, so that's part of getting yourself into a sort of hypnotic state. There's no such thing as a trance in hypnosis. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So when you're driving your car, you're probably in self-hypnosis. You've kind of turned off that critical thinking. You're just doing the process. That's hypnosis. That's you just focusing on one thing. Also, when you're reading a really good book or watching a film that you're really into, that's where you are focused. And it's that level of trying to get to a believed in imagining that helps you with the visualization.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky to like enter that. I think it requires a lot of practice, doesn't it?
It does. It's all about practice and getting it into be part of your life, and that's why people like me have jobs, because we help people to learn these skills and then be able to use them themselves and generalise them.
Yeah, I suppose it's not just learning it like once and then being able to do it. It's having to revisit it and improve it and reflect and review and that kind of thing as well.
It's just like learning anything, you know, you're exposed to it, you practice in different situations, you practice it in different ways, you practice the hard bits, and then you put it all together and then you've got a routine. Yeah.
So how can cognitive behavioural hypnotherapy help teachers then?
So wellbeing is so important. Teachers give so much to their job and their class and their school, and they expect so little. And often leaders want to help their staff, but we've got no resources. So you've got to take some ownership and empower yourself to be able to cope. So cognitive behavioural hypnotherapy can help teachers to cope with challenges and situations that they find tricky, that are too much, and it kind of helps with the common symptoms of teaching, which are, you know, can't switch off, feeling overwhelmed, not breathing, that Sunday night dread, exhausted but you've got insomnia. It's all of those things can be dealt with cognitive behavioural hypnotherapy, and things like bad coping mechanisms. You know, you're drinking too much, you're eating too much sugar to stay awake, your health is suffering but you can't stop, And that's where burnout comes, and that's where the cognitive behavioural hypnotherapy looks at your thoughts and feelings and actions and how to just make them better, not necessarily cure everything for you, but just help you cope better.
Yeah, and it's so difficult, like when you get in these cycles and you don't necessarily know that they are an issue, I suppose, until you can step back from it, like the overeating or the always going to the fridge when you have so-and-so thought. You don't always observe yourself either, do you, until you start becoming more self-aware.
Yeah, so if you're not feeling great, you need to look and keep a diary almost of what's happening. How is your technique for coping working out for you? If you run and that's helping you, great, it's not damaging, it's good for you. That's helping you cope. But if you go and have a glass of wine and you are just automatically doing that and you're not really thinking about it critically, then you're already in a pattern of hypnosis there. Is that helpful to you? Maybe it is. If it's not, then you can change that pattern because you put yourself in that sense of self-hypnosis. You can change the script. You can move to a different, better, healthier way of coping.
Yeah. So why are you so passionate about helping teachers avoid this burnout and build resilience then?
I've been a teacher for 18 years now, back in the day when we didn't have the internet. I've worked in teaching for a really, really long time as a classroom teacher the whole time. I've been assistant head, I've been senior leader, I'm a classroom teacher at the moment, and I've had burnout. It's awful. It's so hard to come back from. You think you're fine and you can cope. You need a certain amount of stress to survive and to be able to deal with your life and situations and be adaptive and all that kind of thing. But there comes a point where if you don't have mechanisms for turning that off or coping with it or de-stressing from it, you just can't maintain it. And the smallest thing will just send you spiralling off going, right, well, that was it. That was the last thing I could take. And so it's about, for me, addressing these things with teachers particularly before it gets to that point, because that's too late. That's when you need to see a doctor. That's when you need to see a counsellor and you need to take some serious time to look at your life. Before that, though, it's helping teachers to put in coping plans and mechanisms and be their cheerleader, and that's really what I'm looking to do. Because I didn't have a cheerleader. I was, senior leader, and people were like, she's fine, she's always been fine. Yeah, she was. She was, but she was just kind of functioning on drinking frappuccinos all day long and didn't actually look after herself. And it's important with that, looking after yourself emotionally and mentally as well as physically, because you can be doing one of those things or two of those things, but if you're not doing all of them, something will catch up somewhere and leak somewhere into some other part of your life.
Yeah, this is it. And we think we're okay as well until we kind of step back. And I think there's two things that you mentioned there. One, it's important that leaders kind of walk the talk. And, if you're expecting your teams to look after yourself, then you have to do it yourself. But also, obviously, I'm a leader as well. And I'm the leader of a lot of ex-teachers. So it is a difficult position to be in, and until you're there, you don't realise all the perceptions that are probably not real, that are had of a leader, for example. Oh, well, it's all right for her, or they've got it all sorted because they always look really together, but maybe that's not necessarily the case.
And that kind of being paid, you're at the top of the pay grade, great, so you deserve all that stress. Well, yeah, but there's only so much a human can deal with.
Yeah, and it's that understanding as well. So, I mean, you mentioned that you're in school now. If you're a SLT listening to this now, there's a lot of talk about wellbeing and this box ticking. What should they really be doing, sort of in your opinion, that maybe we're not understanding as a profession?
It's sort of two-pronged, really. I think you have to look at your own school and the compassion that you have for your staff. If you're offering them a wellbeing day, how are you doing that? Is it on your terms? Does it actually help and suit them? If you're looking at workload, is it in consultation? And communication's the biggest thing, isn't it, with that kind of thing. And the box ticking you were talking about, that's why it's really important not to get someone like me in just for one session. It needs to be part of your wellbeing strategy. So when I work with schools, I'll go in and do an initial thing just to get a sense whether the teachers want it. And then if they do, we'll make a plan for specific schools and their needs. So either for early career teachers or middle leaders or the heads themselves and their little cohorts. And work on the different things that are problems for that school. So it's not a generic, right, we've done wellbeing. No, you always have to be doing wellbeing and spread it through the year and make people accountable for themselves as well. So, you know, I taught you this, you wanted to learn it, you said you'd go away and do it. Did you?
Yeah.
Show me. How is it working out for you? What can I do to help you next? And
yeah, I think that's so important. Often in school, I think, you know, we kind of have accountability, but then we kind of don't, because I remember so many staff meetings where a new initiative was brought in, but nobody checked that I was doing it from a will help you kind of way. Sometimes it was 6 weeks later and, you know, I'd probably be on long-term supply or something, so not really sure if I was really doing that or not. And it's like, right, okay, bring this whole package of whatever, and you're like, what? And that's the next thing you hear about it. And so accountability is important, but it also needs to feel like a partnership, doesn't it?
Yeah, it needs to be part of what you're already doing. It needs to be manageable as well. It's no good having a 3-hour staff meeting to do wellbeing. That doesn't suit anybody's wellbeing quite often. It's about doing sort of little things within, you know, your PPA. You have this available for you. You can speak to Jenny if you want to, or you've got at the weekend you can just send her a message and she'll get back to you. And it's about making it a support that people want and will use.
You've mentioned teachers wanting it more than once. If you're a leader in a school and your teachers don't know that they need it yet, or they're not in that place, how do they get there? How do they get to the place where they're open to explore something like hypnotherapy? Because, you know, I can think of one teacher as an example, my mother, and you know, sometimes the word hypnotherapy is like, oh man, we're not doing any of that. How do you kind of open the way for some more open-mindedness?
Yeah, so we look at it first as kind of a sort of stress audit, kind of. That's too big a word. But I'll talk to the CEOs or the head teachers and, you know, put across what I want to help them with. I want to help teachers make sure that they are fit to teach, they are fit to live their own lives, that they stay in a school, that they are not on long-term sick, and that haven't got a recruitment and retention crisis. It's all from all angles. I've forgotten your question now.
Oh, can I remember? Because I didn't write this one down. So if you, I'm talking about sometimes the ground is not fertile in terms of the teaching community in a school ready to hear something like, we're going to do hypnotherapy.
Yes. So I'll find a school environment that wants that anyway, so the leaders will need to decide that it's a focus for them. And I found that it's about offering different things. So schools that are offering hypnotherapy, and schools that are offering mindfulness, and schools that are offering yoga, and schools that are offering bacon sandwiches on a Friday. I mean, that's a bit of a tokenistic thing, but all of these things, and understanding of people, it's about people being able to find the bit they want. So I'll go and do an introduction of what hypnotherapy is and go through 3 things that I think will help you tomorrow in your classroom. Try it. And then from that, people will either say, do you know what, I'm all right, I've got my coping mechanisms. Or they'll say, oh, that was good, you've got anything else? And just finding the people who want it. I'm not about selling anything to people that they don't want or need. I'm about showing them this is a way that I can help you if you want me to, and it feels comfortable for you. If you're happy doing yoga, which is amazing, or running, or if you just are a really chilled person and nothing phases you and you don't need my help, then fantastic. There's plenty of people, myself included. I am not a chilled person. 18 years later, I still can't hear the words lesson observation without feeling slightly nauseous.
And then you carried a lot out.
Yes, I know. My clipboard.
Yeah, well, this is it. And these roles we have to play. But do you know what? I'm going to challenge you there and say, I think that it is good for everybody. It's just that not everybody's in the place where they understand that yet. And I feel like that's one of the biggest battles when it comes to well-being and personal development, because like that is a really big part of my life now. And even when we're running or when we're doing yoga, we're actually doing a form of this kind of mindfulness, thinking things through, getting the brain into a different state. And so I kind of think everyone does need it. They might just not be ready to accept that yet. But what you're saying is, I'll be here when you're ready to accept it, and not before, because it can be more damaging than anything if you're not ready to kind of take that on, really, or be open-minded to it. But it's not. It's a difficult thing, isn't it? And I suppose maybe just because, time has moved on a lot, but as a society, we're not there yet with how much we understand about the mind and our productivity and our stress levels and all that kind of thing. But we are moving towards that.
Yeah.
So if you're a teacher, then you're listening to this podcast, what 3 actionable steps can you give that they're going to try in the classroom tomorrow, because it goes out on a Tuesday? So what are you going to try on Wednesday this week?
So there are 3 things that I wanted to share today. The first one is about switching off, because teachers, almost every teacher I talk to cannot switch off from being at work. You're at home, your mind's racing. It's really difficult to be present for your family and your friends. Yeah. So the first thing to do is a leaves on a stream technique, where you imagine a stream, and it can be whatever stream you like. It can have water on it, it can be a stream of light, it can be a stream of glitter, and it's passing, it's just constantly moving. And whenever you have a thought, just give it to the stream. So you have your thought, you pop it on the stream, and it might come back, because thoughts do pop up, and just put it back. And whatever thought you're having, without judging why you're having that thought, where it's come from, what it means for you, just put it on the stream. It will come back, it definitely will. And keep doing that, putting it on there, because you are not your thoughts. You are just the person having your thoughts. So just relieve yourself of it for a bit, because they're not going to go away if they're important. So taking it, putting it, letting it keep moving, and just keep doing that. It's like counting sheep.
I love that, because even as you've been describing that, and I haven't sort of put a thought on, even just imagining it, I feel calmer. At the moment, I'm listening to a book called Solve for Happy, and that's really good, and that talks very much about your thoughts are not you, and you are here. And if you're listening and not watching, I'm pointing to, I suppose, my chest, really. But this is where you are, and you're not your thoughts. And that was really powerful for me. And knowing that you can control your thoughts and that they don't just happen to you.
Yeah, and you're not your feelings either. You have feelings, and they are in response to thoughts or events. It's not a judgment on you. So I think that's really important. So that's the first thing, is that kind of switching off. And then the second thing is, it's amazing, I love this. This is my favourite thing.
I'm ready to try it.
It's called tension release breathing. It's very yogic. And it's where you would just go through your whole body doing the same technique with different muscle groups, because you think you hold tension in certain places. Like, I think I hold it in my shoulders, but actually when I'm in bed, my residual tension is in my jaw, my calf muscles for some reason. I don't know why, that's how I've noticed it. But I've only noticed that since I started doing this. And when you notice something, it changes it anyway just by the noticing. So tension release breathing would be to breathe in quickly through your nose, filling your lungs up, and then hold it for about 5 to 8 seconds, and then just let it go. And the important part of that letting it go is not that you're trying to relax, because then if you don't relax, you failed. What you're trying to do is you're just letting go. And whatever happens, you follow that feeling. So you breathe in through your nose, and then hold and 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 hold, and then just let it go. And don't push it, and just follow that feeling, and let your breathing return to normal. And then you will do it again, but this time you're going to hold your shoulders, and I'll guide you through that again. So you breathe in quickly and fill your lungs up, and then hold your shoulders in tight, up and in. Imagine holding the shoulders tight and tight and tight and tight, and then release the breath, long soft exhalation, and release the shoulders. Let the shoulders drop away, and keep falling, falling, like the strings have been cut on a puppet. Follow that feeling, follow that breathing. Let your breathing return to normal. And you do that twice with each body part and each set of muscles. So the shoulders, the thighs, the calves, the head and face. Face is a really, really good one because you've got to let go of all of your eyes and your scalp and your forehead. And that's a really, really nice one. It takes a really long time to do that properly. But again, that is quite mindful because it stops you being able to think of other things because you're concentrating on breath and a physical holding. So that's a really good one.
Yeah, doing things like that feels good anyway. We just don't give ourselves time, do we?
Yeah, I find that I get to the end of doing something like that with people and I think I've bored them. They've like, what's happened? They look miserable, but they're just so tired. They're like, oh, I didn't realise I was so tired. Yes, go home, go to bed.
Or lightheaded as well.
Yeah.
Oh my word, I've had enough breath.
When you hold tension, you don't realise how much adrenaline you've got going round you. And when you let it go, that's when you go, whoa. And that's when you need to have those other coping mechanisms to support you.
And I think it's a natural thing as well. Obviously, I mean, I've not been a teacher for a number of years now, but I know that I still hold tension. And like you said, at night, I sleep on my front and I know that the tension's here. And right now, like, I know that I've got some tension issues so bad that I have pins and needles in my hands most of the time. But it's definitely in my shoulders. And you know how the weather's colder? I don't know why, but when I go outside, I walk like that. I think it makes me think that I'm staying warmer. But we have tension we're aware of, but like you say, we also have tension that we're not aware of. So it's got to be good for the muscles as well.
Yeah, and it helps you switch off and relax, and you can recall those feelings of letting go when you're in a stressful situation. So in the lesson observation I had yesterday, which I haven't had any feedback yet, I don't know how it went. Why am I that bothered? I don't know. But I just, you just got to think, I'm breathing too fast, my shoulders are up high. Okay, let's just say relax, calm, peaceful, and just remember that feeling of breathing out and letting your shoulders go. It just helps ground you a little bit as well.
And give you that inner confidence, I guess, as well.
Yeah. So that was my second one, and I have got a third one. And this is called, it's kind of thought stopping, I would call it. So it's where you've got a tricky situation, like a learning walk is happening, and it can be anything in your personal life too, but if a learning walk was happening, have a think about why that is making you feel uncomfortable, if it does, and it does for me. So I'd think it through and write down my thoughts, so what I'm telling myself, oh gosh, I'm going to get found out, they'll know I'm rubbish, and I'll make so many mistakes, and the children won't learn anything, and everybody will know. The feelings that you've got, so for me it would be, dread, guilt, sadness, worry, write those down as well. And then the behaviours that happen, and they can just be the physical things like, you get really cold, or you breathe too shallowly, or you talk too fast, or
those two are definitely mine.
Yeah, me too. You drop things because you're clumsy. All those things that go with the behaviours. So thoughts and feelings and behaviours that happen to you in that situation that causes you discomfort. And then how would you rather think? How would you rather feel? And how would you rather behave? And then write yourself those down. And a little cheerleading statement, a little coping statement like, this is stressful, but I'm a strong woman, I can deal with this. And then play that scene through in your head and imagine, and you need to do it a few times, imagine each time that you do it that you're adding in some of those things that you want to happen. So instead of thinking, oh, she's going to think I'm terrible, I'd rather be thinking, oh, she'll be able to tell me things I haven't spotted in the back of my classroom, that'd be great, I'll catch up with her later about that. So you're rewriting the script of the image that goes over and over and over in your head, and the actual playing it over in your head takes longer than the actual real life thing takes. So again, like for sports people, it's practicing the success in the situation, but you've got to know what is your negative and unhelpful thoughts before you can come up with some more helpful positive thoughts. And it won't solve your problem of being observed or being in a lesson walk, but it is more helpful than not doing it, because it's not serving you to have negative self-talk and to be hypnotising yourself into thinking that you are not good enough or that this is too much for you. It does not help you. So that's also something I would recommend.
And I suppose it depends, if you're listening to this, how much you know about woo kind of things. But also, if you believe thoughts become things, then positive thoughts are going to get you positive things.
Yeah. So if you're envisaging in your mind that you are much more together and you move much more smoothly than you normally do, your body's kind of thought that, and it might help you by acting it out. You're telling your muscles, actually, we move slower, we move more confidently, and they will. Your brain's so powerful, and you've just got to give yourself the chance that you would give a child. You would never talk to your child the way you talk to yourself. We're really bad for that. Such hypocrites, teachers.
Oh yeah, and that inner belief is just something to really work on, and the mindset and everything. Yeah, I love this conversation. So good. So, where can we find out more about you?
So, I am quite elusive. I have a website. It's www.recognition-hypnotherapy.com, or I am on Facebook, and it's @recog.hypno. But I like to work with schools, and I like to work one-to-one. So I'm not very socially savvy on the old media, because I like to get out there and I like to have conversations and have relationships with people, because that's how we all help support each other.
Super. Well, thank you so much for all of your insights, and I know this is going to be so helpful for so many teachers out there.
Oh, I hope so. Thank you so much for having me on.